Here we are at Universal Studios Florida to unmask the horrors. We are going through the 3 houses before HHN, give you an inside first look at the houses. We get a lights on tour. We're only allowed to take pictures, but I will work you through all of backstory and history come to life and scare you. So to get in, we actually check in over at the Blue Man Group, so we're gonna walk through here. Dude, it's legit pretty cool. You get to come by the old Blue Man Group theater. Be dope. They have some dark zodiac. This is actually Cancer right here. Oh, this was like I think this was Virgo with like the magician wands. After you check in, our tour guide, Kyle, walked us out to the first house. Now, this is a long tour, the 3-house tour, which costs roughly around $100 plus change, will last 3 hours long. There's lots of walking and there are no breaks. But we first went to Museum Deadly Exhibits, where we noticed that the Museum of International Folklore is having a new exhibit called the Rotting Stone. So as we head into where they take the museum deliveries, you'll notice that there's lots of signage. There's a stained glass window with a big old M on it. And we head into the initial ticketing area, which gives us pricing for all of the memberships. They also had a little kids culture pamphlet that was listed as well. I just want to shout out to all of the creative team here for HHN, because the amount of attention to detail in these pamphlets for this Rotting Stone exhibit. Also note these desserts hidden here. Baklava was the project name, the code name kind of hidden while they were developing this house. So throughout the houses, you will see hidden desserts. You will also see a hidden animal. We'll get to that a little bit later. But there are masks. We get our pricing again, audio guides. Now here is where it gets really weird, because this house, you're not going to be attacked by physical monsters, but rather the Rotting Stone is going to be possessing objects. And here it's a desk that gets possessed, which I think is absolutely hysterical. So you're going to get attacked by a desk. As you notice on the walls, there's this bluish, purplish, red. That's the Rotting Stone's kind of like ethereal stone creeping vine, which has infected the entire museum itself, and is actually started to crash and cascade down the upper floor, and that's why you saw that pillar earlier. Now, this is an art museum, so you're going to see lots of works of art on the sides. Again, lots of attention to details. Here's that pillar coming crashing through the roof on the left-hand side. And there is a little tiny bathroom, which does look like it has a boo hole. So I imagine that's going to be where a scare actor pops out, which I think he's like right as soon as you walk in, you're going to get blasted on the left and then that desk on the right. This poor museum employee was one of the first victims of the Rotting Stone. Note the ceiling tile right behind his head. And the other thing that I think is kind of fun is when you look at the actual characters themselves and these bodies and corpses, is they don't look so crazy detailed, but I think that's to ensure that the lighting makes them look realistic. Now, back on this shelf, we actually get a funny little dig over at Epcot and Disney World, because it says Spirits of the World, which obviously we're talking about ghosts, but in Epcot's language, they're talking about how people drink around the world. Lots of ceiling tiles have fallen down, strewn about. On the upper right, you get to see all of that Rotting Stone vine is all creeping on the side. It's all textured too, which I think makes it look more immersive. And this pillar is pretty massive. Now, as you walk through the museum, think of it like you were a guest walking through the exhibits that you would normally see in a museum. We're going back to the ancient world, and you'll find artifacts in little plexiglass boxes. There are banners to again bring you to the imagery and iconography of that. Another poor museum staff member was sadly taken away. Now these, you couldn't actually read those little placards. They were all blurred, so we couldn't get any information from there. Next up is Goblin Boil, which I had no idea that the Russians legit believed in goblins, but there's the HHN bear, which is kind of fun. He's not going to come to life like he did in Yeti Campground Kills, but at least he makes an entrance. Again, this is like woodenware that's just like in a plexiglass box from Russia. So everything that you see here is supposed to be artifacts from Russia. So we get the Russian nesting dolls, a washboard basin. I don't know what exactly they're going to put on inside, or is this going to be a water effect? But we do see our first animal, which is going to be hidden throughout all houses, and that is a snail this year. Last year it was frogs, and 2 years before that it was butterflies, but there are snails hidden in each house. But they have these little kind of goblin huts, I guess I could put it. And in this goblin boil, you're gonna see how goblins would consume humans, which I think is kind of a funny crossover with Goblin's Feast House as well. It's, again, these details and some of these artifacts are legit real. Now, I want to go backwards for a hot second and just explain that not everything is shown that's in this house. So we actually are going to miss 2 scenes that are in this house. One is a massive Viking ship that we walk through that has sails that are attacking you, and there's this giant prow of a ship with a kraken. And remember, it's all the objects in the museum that are there to scare you and attack you, not a physical creature yet, ... But we may have wind effects in this Viking area as that tentacle is swiping about. And there is one more scene, which is an Asian scene where you go past those paper walls that can slide. So there's going to be some boo holes there. There's also some matting on the floor, which means that we're going to get some rain effects. And it's supposed to take place in a fisherman's village. So I'm very excited for that one to see how that goes through. And lots of projections are going to be utilized so you can see people getting attacked in the background using those white paper doors as your projection screens. All right, let's read the Halls of Mourning. While much of the folklore is an exploration of experience and trials in life, other stories explore far beyond that. The idea of communicating with dead has been long an idea and explored and promoted through folklore. The Halls of Mourning were a place to peak the dead, a place that was meant to give sanctuary to those spirits while still waiting to communicate. Welcome to Stuff in Face. So this Indian themed area, you see an elephant, which is great iconography for India. You'll notice all the walls and this tapestry all has similar coloration on it, and you have to physically walk through all these things. And there's going to be a scare actor who's designed to look like the wallpaper. So yeah, we're getting attacked by wallpaper now. I thought that was a little cinematography photo. I don't know what I'm trying to look, there I am in a mirror. None of these really came out, even though it was lights on. Dude, it still was very, very dark. I had to crank the ISO to get some of these objects on these pillars. They had some teaware and stoneware and vases up on the wall. Again, the detail here is really cool. We get a sword. And that little 23 denotes where the design team is supposed to be placing artifacts along the house. Now, welcome to the Rotting Stones foam insulation, which is strewn everywhere. I absolutely love it. And this reminds me almost of what I would call more of like a Mexican style temple as we head into this last bit. Are you excited? I am, because it is time to see the piece de resistance, the final scene, the Rotting Stone. I know you've all been excited to just see what this thing looks like, but there she is in all her glory, the Rotting Stone, which is purple and almost like bubbling up, filled with evil. Now, they say that in this scene, we are going to get a physical embodiment, and I think it's going to be like a person that looks very stony is going to attack. And sadly, this person got all burned up and charred up from the stone, which is awful. I mean, could you imagine that happening to you? Like, what happened to her arms? And as we leave, there are these different paintings, which are all demonic or satanic, very gross. I don't know if they're going to be boo holes that drop or open, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the Rotting Stone is not quite done with us as we exit the very last section. But luckily for all of y'all, we can take a break and get out of a house and back into the sunlight for our second house, which is Slaughter Sinema 2. This is a sequel house to the very successful Slaughter Sinema 1. And we're returning back to the Cary Drive-In Theater. This area actually will show some trailers for some of the movies both in this house as well as films that never quite made it as ideas. As soon as we walk in here is a snack bar. Think Sinister Snacks, my friends. And I just love how there's like fly paper on the wall because they're clearly trying to get in on all these delicious goodies. It was very dark, so I left the door open. But look, when I closed it, you couldn't see nothing. But man, that popcorn and soda, even though they look happy, I don't know. You know, that glizzy, man, he's making me a little bit scared. When you go in this house, though, you're going to want to look to the left because they have these amazing movie posters. We were not allowed to take pictures of any of the movie posters, but the first one is called Mardi Gras Murderers. And here we are going into a hotel room of some guests, shout out to 2024 on the room number, who are enjoying themselves a little too much during Mardi Gras celebrations here in New Orleans. Lots of detailing everywhere here with, they clearly are partying, wearing jester outfits. And here's where we actually deal with real monsters. You are going to have to go up against jesters with, you know, those old school, those plague masks. And when they pull off those masks, they're still going to be fleshy inside. So gross. Now, this was berry tart was the sweet treat for this one. And then it was so disgusting. Clearly, they were a little bit partied out. This is going to have a smell to it as well, which is very squeamish and gross. And I'll show you another little surprise that you're going to get a little bit afterwards. But I don't know. I feel like this looks a lot like most people's hotel rooms, minus the on there. These coins were actually from the Mardi Gras festival that they hold every year, which is a food festival. And that was actually a hotel key card for Universal, which I thought was a cool little nice touch. You do get a jazz player noting our music that's going to be on there. I thought this was a cute little addition with please do not disturb, because clearly who wants to disturb that? They do have a little bit of a crawfish boil coming out of a takeout box, and they had this little demonic spirit, which I thought was kind of cool. And beads are a big part of this, because sadly our victim that we're going to see here on the left hand side is going to want beads a little bit too much. A little bit more of the backstory here. You notice there's a ring box, and that ring box is completely empty because our sad guests who have expired were getting married, so they were actually celebrating their engagement with some jello shots and lots of cigarettes. Don't smoke, kids, it's not healthy. It leads to this, which is so nasty and disgusting, and I don't want to know what the smell is like. We also see the matting on the floor, and see that little nozzle that's there? They're going to be spraying us with something that is scented as well, which is disgusting. So we're going to get shot with some liquid at this scene, which is beyond disturbing on so many levels. I'm probably gonna have to plug my nose as I go through this little carry-out bag. Look at that, they have a whole entire keg too, which is insane. That's like 200 plus beers. But here is our victim outside. They were trying to get some beads, and they got a little bit more than they bargained for. There's the jester in the back, but we're gonna see much more fleshy, realistic jesters. But look on the left, there is our hidden snail. Again, remember, there is one animal snail hidden in every house. Now, I couldn't record in Hatchet and Chains Demon Bounty Hunters, but think of like a Western cat house and you're getting attacked in there because there's demons in this cat house. There's also a section called Blood and Chum, which is Jaws. It's a little bit later on, but I might as well cover the ones I can't show. And then there is Heavy Metal Hell 3D, which is amazing. It looks like you're in a bedroom, and this bedroom has a giant vortex that's sucking you into hell with these heavy metal rocking skeletons. They look unbelievable. And then there's also at the very end is Zyborgs, and Zyborgs are these like mutant fleshy robots that are attacking you. Reminds me a lot of Terminator meets Toy Story's Sid when he has that like baby doll creature. Nasty. And then the one everybody's gonna freak out for is Mummy Strippers Unwrapped. And yeah, you're going into a Egyptian themed strip club that has a sarcophagus that was used as a prop, but inside the prop was a real mummy, and the mummies cursed everybody, and the patrons pay in this weird Egyptian money, and they suck their souls out so that they can remain young. The mummies do. So People are gonna laugh at that one. The next movie I can actually show you is going to be Killer Kringles. And we're heading to the North Pole where elves and Santa are doing some not so Santa's little helper type activities. It's gross, dude. This whole section has some really well detailed, bloodied looking corpses hanging on hooks or sitting in buckets, which, oh, that's a little trough to be able to feed the reindeer. So you get to see the reindeer shed. If they have a reindeer in here, I swear that I will lose my mind if they have that. Oh, look, there's Santa's sack. And, you know, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Because Kris Kringle, it'll put you in the nutcracker, dude. Dude, this is so messed up, man. But good grindhouse style gore. This looks like it could be a boo hole. If they put a puppet reindeer that's crazy in there, please. This guy was at the toy workbench and I guess wasn't being helpful of sorts. You've got some blocks, and then this girl, she was all chained and put into a bag as well. So I guess Santa's got a brand new bag and she's in that one. Yeah, it was gross and weird. But you know, it's not called fluffy, cushy cinema. This is gonna really wreak havoc on a lot of people's fears and nightmares because it's clowns and they're undead clowns. Here's the backstory, which I think is really cool because it attaches to HHN 31. We are going back to BuzzCon, the people who created the Exterminator, which created all of this chemical to supposedly get rid of bugs, but it turned people mutant. Well, guess what? This BuzzCon liquid also can reanimate people. You can see a barrel right there, and they were dumping this chemical byproduct waste, which is that green. You can see the clouds, like his shoes are tied with his big old floppy feet. Ew, look at his little foot. But they were dumping this liquid on a clown graveyard. Yes, I know the plots aren't really crazy big. There's a BuzzCon employee, but that's what makes these so fun. And if any of these do well, like for example, Swamp Yeti, I think it was called Swamp Yeti, did really well, so they ended up making it a full house. So who knows? Maybe Undead Zombies, if this is well received by guests, will become a full-fledged external house of its own next year or in years to come, because they tend to bring back a lot of those details. But this one, it's very dark in here. It's extremely dark. I have no idea how many clowns are going to be popping out, but just everything that's on the walls itself, detailing-wise, super immersive, lots of skulls, very creepy, great history, great nostalgia tie back. It's very scary for most people. It's also hysterical for others because you see like a rainbow afro and like those like fuzzy hunky squeak like the little noses. Clowns don't freak me out, really. I mean, Jack is a great icon, but they never really do much for me. But again, it was incredibly dark. I had to use my flashlight to be able to see and take photos in here. And then I got lost and I had no idea where I was because everybody had left and gone to the next room. So I was like trapped in this clown trying to find the way out that it worked because everybody was gone. I was like, turned around. I was like, where did everybody go? But that's gonna end off this house. It's not in sequence. I already gave you the other ones. Actually, Zyborgs is the last one. But we started walking over to our final house, which is over by Rip Ride Rocket. Again, lots of walking in this because you got to go across. And we're heading to Triplets of Terror, where we are going to celebrate Junior, Harmony, and Melody's 9th birthday party. You can see right on this house, 3324 HHN 33, 2024. And we're outside their rancher style home. To the right is actually a cop car, and that was used in The Last of Us and Halloween. It's funny enough, you could take pictures of it those years, but you couldn't take pictures of it this year. Now, this one is gonna really creep a lot of people out, and there are some big triggers for a lot of folks. And I also think that this is kind of a home or a house, a haunted house that was kind of thrown together a little bit towards the end if like IP had dropped out, like maybe like FNAF, but that's just me being a crazy person thinking that. But as we walk inside, there's going to be maybe some rain effects. We notice on the bottom that matting, but this kind of looks like an abandoned, almost like RV, even though it's a rancher. There's lots of tools outside. It's like a junkyard out in the front of their house. And we do get kind of some context of some items that they may use in the future. So there's lots of foreshadowing here as well. One of the worst foreshadows is this little dog bowl. If you love poochies, you're not gonna like this house. That bat is also gonna play a significance, or just a bat in general, is gonna be maybe used by some of our triplets. Croquet mallet. Now, there's a cupcake here. This is not a cupcake house. I thought that was going to be their suite. It is not. This house is not for cupcakes. And then exterminator, that's again for bugs eaten alive. We've gotten that in almost every house, and all throughout tribute stores. BuzzCon got a lot of love, and it's one of my favorite houses, so I'm super glad that it's getting some love and appreciation. Now we head into the house, and we couldn't film everything, but here is the birthday party. Now this birthday party scene is going to be very significant because every 10 years, the triplets will recreate their birthday party from March 9th, 1984. Where they clearly, honored their oldest relatives and members of their family. Like, what possessed them to do this? We have no idea, except for that they're psychotic. Oh, look, chicken and mashed potatoes. Delicious. But yeah, Melody, Harmony, and Junior are going to recreate this scene every 10 years with new victims. But all of these like food items and cake from these every time that there's a new murder, they will bring those elements for their recreation. So we're gonna see 2 more decades worth of murders in the next couple of scenes. Doesn't that look like a KFC chicken bucket? I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's Colonel Sanders. He doesn't look like Colonel Sanders. He looks like Santa without a hat. This is so gross and well done. Again, the realism is great, especially under those dark lights. Now, we don't see us walking around into the next house, but you will notice that we've jumped past a scene, which actually took us to podcasters that were they were like doing like a docu crime series. So that scene's actually really cool because they're trying to like connect where the triplets are and how do they keep getting away. Note that there was Publix Parmesan cheese in this refrigerator, but we're now 10 years ahead, and in that flower is the calling card of the triplets, that little 3, and sadly we're gonna see a doggy get in the next scene, which is like a laundry room scene. It's supposed to have a really good scent too. It's supposed to smell like laundry detergent. So it's odd in a very violent scene. But here you can see they're gathering ingredients that they can bake a cake in the future. There's also just, generic things that you would find in any kitchen. Your stoveware, your decor, there's the laundry room, and then this house was actually fudge. So here's all the makings to create fudge, which we will see in the later scene. And yeah, their little calling card, the little 3 for triplets. And this poor pajama mom lost her head. And then there's a closet filled, or a pantry filled with all their food. You can see that a scare actor is going to pop out of there with that actor activated trigger. It's cool to see the snowblower scene come back. So we have a snowblower, and then this guy's getting all grinded up. It looks like this is going to be a liquid effect as well, as there's rubber matting down here. So I assume you're going to hear grinding and churning, which is disgusting, but then you're going to get a little bit wet. Oh, look. And the show director for this loves to grill and barbecue, so they literally put a barbecue grill out there just to honor them. But we're walking in between these 2 houses as the triplets are getting ready to prepare for their next murder and celebrate the anniversary of their birthday. This hallway, apparently, this has moved, but our little hidden animal is actually on the left-hand side over here on the windowsill. It's our little friend, the snail. So there's our snail. But apparently he's moved. I don't know where he went, but he's Gnome Alone somewhere. I don't know where though, but it's so cool. I love that they like screw them down. Last year with the frogs, they added a bunch of hats, so I'm curious if they're going to accessorize any of these snails. And the creative team does get to keep them, and they put them as like little keepsakes on their desks and stuff, which I think is really fun. But we are in an alleyway. We are still gathering materials. We're heading off into a more cityscape with lots of strewn garbage about. I thought there's like a little 3, but I think a guest did that in the dust. I don't think that was actually from the triplets. It doesn't look official. It's a little bit short and squatty. You can see some pallets and milk crates, trash bags, brickwork. There is going to be a scene of a homeless person as well at the end, but you're going to see how large this is. And we found out from Kyle that apparently people get scared of not only cramped spaces, but really large open spaces. So that plays on a psychological terror here. And this is that little homeless encampment with a can of soup and a spoon, some cinder blocks. There's some hooch in that bag and a hat. And then now we walk into like a butcher's area and through a freezer. We weren't allowed to take pictures like right before this section, but stuff in face, there's going to be lots of these hanging carcasses, which they actually make using pantyhose that's stuffed and painted and given like this coloration and texture, which I think is unbelievable because they withstand a lot of guest abuse walking through there. And I think they're extremely realistic looking and they're very heavy as you push past. So I think that's going to creep out a lot of people. This is another spot where I was way behind everybody and was like, oh gosh, where did everybody go? And I had to like race to catch up. Now we're recreating the birthday. This is absolutely repulsive and disgusting. This is in the butcher's shop area where they cut everything up. There's a giant vat of body parts and this vinyl screening. It's just all that stuff. Like anytime you have to walk through these things, disgusting. There's the triplets calling card again with that bloody fingerprint. That's what I wanted to see on the triplets food booth, just to round out the story and connect it a little bit more and add some immersive theming. But you know how everybody a lot of the characters didn't have heads? Well, that's because Junior, the largest one of the triplets, collects them. And now you get to see his giant head collection. Thank you so much for sharing, Junior. Gross, disgusting vat of body parts. Oh, a bucket of intestines. That's exactly what I want to see. It's really gross in the best way possible. The painting and artistry that goes into these scenes and details is unbelievable. There's our fudge and cake. So we've now recreated our birthday party for Harmony and Melody and Junior. They have some icing that they carried over from the previous scene as well as that fudge. And they're celebrating, and the only way to celebrate is to write in intestines, happy birthday all over the place. Just absolutely disgusting. They made a piñata too. They filled this poor girl's head with candy, which, is totally appropriate. There's just a sack filled with God knows what. And oh yeah, just normal hanging meat parts everywhere. But this is where the culmination of all the triplets are going to show up and attack all at once. I love that they now escape too into the sewers. So this is how they're getting out and getting the ability to get away from everybody. But we do notice that this sewer is from Monsters last year. So this is basically a recreation of that Monsters Unmasked final scene where the triplets will all be present, just like the Phantom was and the Invisible Man. Very cool. I think that's going to be a fun ending. But yeah, that's it. We're ready for the event now. It's coming up. It's literally tomorrow.
Oh my God. Unmasking the Horror is the greatest thing ever. I eventually want to open my own haunt. So seeing an inside view, even before the event, which is bonkers. And some of the houses, I was not excited for Triplets of Terror. I have it on my hype list as number 9. That ain't number 9. That thing's way up on the list. I think Sinister Cinema is going to be the best original content house. Mummies was so good. Chum and Blood, and I really, really liked Cyborgs. I know that's weird, but it was just so cool with the robotics. So interesting. I am so stoked. I can't. So if you want to watch last year's HHN content and just still enjoy some spooky vibes, check out this video right here.